I'm Officer Matt Gray with the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries and Parks, and been a conservation officer for almost 23 years now. And today we're going to talk about some of these animals we have. And the ones we have here, all of these are located in the state of Mississippi. We have these animals here. But first, tell you a little bit about what we do as conservation officers. We try to protect the natural resources, and that we allow people to hunt and fish, as you well know, in the state of Mississippi, but we got to make sure that people abide by the laws and regulations, make sure they don't over-harvest these animals. You'll see us not only in the woods, but you'll see us on water. I know a lot of y'all guys getting ready this time of year start going out fishing, maybe boating. We make sure that you're abiding by the regulations while you're on the water. Make sure you got your safety devices, your flotation devices and all. And we regulate that, make sure everybody's being safe. These animals here are what we call fur-bearing animals. A lot of times people will trap these animals and they'll skin them and sell the fur to make money off of. I'm going to start out with the smallest one we have, and it's always the hardest one to identify for students. A lot of students are not really familiar with this animal. It's real small. You can see sort of a brown, dark brown, light brown coat. This animal stays in the wetlands, mainly in swamps, rivers, but it's called a muskrat. It's a real small animal. A lot of you trappers will trap this animal and skin it and sell the fur, but he's a real small, sort of like in a rodent family, I guess you'd say. But he does stay in the water. He lives in swamps and rivers. Another one we have, and a lot of y'all see these pretty regular. You'll see these in the roads you got run over. You liable to see them getting in your garbage. If you leave your garbage outside, they'll get in it. They're a scavenger. And I think everybody should be able to identify that as a possum. And possums are very adaptable animals. They live here in the city limits of Pontotoc or city limits of Tupelo. They can adapt to their surroundings real well. They are scavengers, so they'll eat about anything. They'll eat dead animals. They'll eat eggs that they can come across. Say a turkey that's nesting and has eggs, it will eat the turkey's eggs. Usually, of course, they don't have the tail on it, but it'll have a long, skinny tail with no fur on it. These are pretty common. You see these little creatures about everywhere you look these days, and we have a lot of possums. The next one, and I think y'all should be able to identify that because the tail should be the giveaway sign. It's a raccoon. And just like the possum, these guys are very adaptable. They're everywhere also. And even here in the city limits, Pontotoc, city limits, Tupelo, wherever, they can live out in the swamp or in town, so they can adapt to their surroundings. Just like the possum, if you leave your garbage outside and it's not put up in a secure place, these guys can get in it and tear it all to pieces, and they're just simply looking for a meal, looking for something to eat. Have cases where people are feeding their dogs or cats outside, and the dog and cat don't eat all their food, and at night, the old coon, he'll slip in there and he'll eat their food for them. We do have a hunting season on raccoons. There's certain times of year, and of course we have a bag limit in place. We only allow a certain number to be harvested because we don't want to kill all of them out. You know, we want to try to maintain and keep a huntable population so we don't kill all these guys out. I know a lot of times it's getting that time of the year where farmers are starting to plant corn. And as the corn grows and we have a cob that gets on the stalk and it gets close to maturing, the coons will go in and a lot of times tear the corn patch up. And they just trying to eat the corn is what they're doing. Next one we're going to discuss is another water animal that lives in water. And a lot of times students can identify this one pretty easy. Sometimes they can't, they have trouble. But if he had his tail attached to him, it would be easy to identify, a lot easier. He has a long, sort of a long, wide, flat tail. And this here is what we call a beaver. Now he'll use that tail that's not attached to use to make his dams. He puts his sticks and his mud in there, and he'll pack that mud in there to build his dam. Also, he'll use his tail to warn other beavers there's danger coming. I don't know if any of y'all guys have like walked up to a lake and you heard a beaver slap his tail. Well, that's what he's doing. He's sort of giving everybody a heads up, his other beaver friends, hey, there's danger, and y'all be on the lookout. But in the state of Mississippi, the beavers are considered a nuisance animal, and what that simply means is they cause a lot of problems, and we allow the residents of the state of Mississippi to harvest beaver year round. So you can legally shoot a beaver any day of the week, day or night. These guys cause a lot of problems with landowners who maybe trying to manage their timber. If there's a creek or something running through their property, the beaver, he would go in there to build his dams to stop the water up, to hold the water back, which will flood the timber and eventually kill it. He'll also go in there and start chewing on the trees and cutting the trees down to build his dam or his hut. And when he destroys a farmer's tree, it's costing the landowner, the farmer, money, because that's trees that he can sell down the road and make money off of. So he can be a nuisance animal to landowners. The beaver mainly is a plant eater. That's all he eats is plants. Unlike the otter's pretty much a meat eater. This one here's a plant eater. He eats plants. But he constantly has to grind on his front teeth on wood and keep them filed down, because if he didn't, his teeth would eventually grow and keep growing and grow back inside of his body. And it would eventually kill him. I have seen a picture before where that happened to a beaver. He had something wrong with him. He wouldn't chew on wood, and his teeth kept growing and growing, and it just basically grew back into him and killed him. But as I said earlier, we do allow people to shoot these animals, to trap them. The fur don't bring as much as an otter brings, but people shoot these animals or trap them basically just to get rid of them so they don't cause damage to their property, tree damage and stuff. But that is a beaver. And if you look, these three here that we talked about, the muskrat, the otter, and the beaver, if you look at these animals and look at the color of them, you can see they all pretty much the same color. And that's sort of a giveaway sign that, hey, these guys, they live in water, they stay in water a lot. They all colored close to the same. As the next animal we're going to talk about is, the next four, I guess you'd say, is going to be land animals. We're out of the water animals, we're going to move back to the land animals. This one usually is a lot of times pretty easy to identify for a lot of students. Sometimes some students have a problem with it, but that is what we call a red fox. And we have a red fox in the state of Mississippi. Fox, just like the coyotes and the raccoons, the possums, are dapple animals as well. They'll live in wooded areas. They also will live in city limits. I've seen fox before. Matter of fact, the last fox I seen, the red fox, was in Sherman, in town. So they can survive in town as well. You don't see a lot of these guys. You'll see some red fox, but you usually don't see a lot of them. They have a real pretty coat. These animals will feed on like birds, mice, squirrels, smaller animals is what they'll try to catch and eat. This tail here, this is a young fox. A lot of times their tail will be a little longer than this. They're a real pretty animal, beautiful animal. People who trap, they'll try to catch this animal, to skin it, to sell the fur. But we don't have not as many red fox, seem like as we used to. The next one, I don't know if y'all can see, his tail's a little longer. A lot of students can identify this one pretty easy. Some students have a little trouble, but that is a gray fox. A gray fox. Here in the state of Mississippi, you'll see, a lot of times you'll see more gray fox than you will red fox. But if I hold them up side by side, you can see the color difference in them between the gray fox and the red. Just like the red fox, the gray fox will catch smaller animals, birds, mice, squirrels, rabbits, stuff like that is what he'll catch and eat. These animals, just like the red fox, is adaptable. Not only will they live in like a swamp or a wilderness or national forest, but they also can live in the city limits of a town. They're very pretty animals. You do see some red around his ears, but his color is totally different than the red fox. But that is a gray fox. The gray fox has one characteristics that's a little different from the red fox. The gray fox has the ability to climb. If you have like a tree that's maybe in an angle and a predator is chasing him, he can run and get up that tree. He can get up that leaning tree and climb up it, whereas a red fox can't. The next animal we're going to talk about, a lot of times, I'm going to say 90% of the students can guess this is pretty easy. You look at him and see his tail, his bushy tail, and that is a coyote. A coyote, just like the beaver in the state of Mississippi, is considered a nuisance animal, which, as I stated earlier, means that this animal can be harvested any day of the week, day or night. It's starting to get a sport in Mississippi where people will go out and they'll take a call and they'll try to call these coyotes up and shoot them. But they are a nuisance animal. A very adaptable animal. Not only will this animal be like in a national forest or a swamp or a real heavy wooded area or rural area, but they'll also be in the city limits also. A few years ago, I actually seen a coyote get run over in the city limits of Tupelo. 2 cars ahead of me hit one that was trying to cross the road there in Tupelo. So they'll also live in the city limits. If any of y'all live in a rural area, I know at night y'all probably hear them howl at night. It's one of the ways they communicate with other coyotes. These animals primarily are a meat eater. Another interesting fact about the coyote also, the coyote is considered to be in the dog family. Now, like most red fox and gray fox, they pretty much are going to look like this, okay? Whereas a coyote, not all of them's going to look like this. Being they're in the dog family, they're going to be colored up different. I have seen some that are almost, say, 95% solid black. So they're going to be different color because they are in the dog family. Another thing about the coyote is a lot of times your cattle farmer, they don't really like coyotes as well because when a cow starts giving birth, they will come out and try to kill the calf and eat it. So cattle farmers, they don't really like the coyote as well, but they are a nuisance animal. Just like the beaver, you can hunt them any day, even at night is legal. And there's no bag limit. So if you went coyote hunting, you can kill as many coyotes as you want, as well as beaver, because they are a nuisance animal in Mississippi. All right, the last animal we're going to talk about, a lot of people can get this one pretty easy. But this one's in the cat family. I'll give you a hint. And it is a bobcat. A bobcat, very elusive. You hardly ever see these guys. They are a super good predator. Primarily a meat eater, so they have to hunt and kill whatever they're trying to eat. But you hardly ever see these guys. They're real elusive, do a lot of their hunting at night. The bobcat also likes to live in real rural places. Unlike the coyote and fox, coons, who you'll see a lot of times in urban areas, city limits, you won't see these guys. These guys like to be where there's not a lot of people around. But they are a super hunter, probably the best predator that we have in the state of Mississippi. but you hardly ever see these guys. But we do have a season on them. You can only take them certain times of the year, and there's a bag limit on them. So they're not considered a nuisance animal like the rest of these are. All these animals, of course, reside in the state of Mississippi. A lot of these are going to be in your backyard. So one thing I want to mention before we close here, that sometimes these animals carry diseases. Had a call a few years ago here in Pontotoc County. A fox was in a person's yard and wasn't scared of nobody. Went out there and you could obviously tell there was something wrong with the fox. It had a disease. The fox had to be euthanized. If you ever encounter any of these animals and they act like they ain't scared of you, then you need to know something's wrong with them and need to keep a distance from them and contact us. We're here to help and serve y'all. The easiest way to contact if you need a conservation officer is call 1-800-BE-SMART. It's a toll-free number. They can get in touch with us and help you at any time you may need some assistance. But thank y'all for your time. Y'all have a great day.